my therapy, it puts my anxious thoughts to sleep. Helps me focus my attention, avoid the fear of imperfection. I know it's never too late to sit down and pen another verse. It's how I seem to calm myself down, eternally conversing. There must be millions of us out there who struggle with their words. But when I'm stuck inside my headspace, I'm in a lonely universe. But music is my therapy.
Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to the F1 Fan Show Live. It's Monday night, it's 21 minutes past 7, and we're excited to bring you another fan show, all dedicated to the F1. It's our pit stop from Town, another sport on the channel. So if you are an F1 fan, get involved. If you're watching this back, you can still get involved, get active in the comments. If you're watching us live, use the live chat on whatever platform, Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube that you're watching us. I know we have a number of Town fans that do watch us because obviously we are a Town fan platform. So if you are a Town fan, do subscribe to the channel because we are giving away the chance to win a home or away shirt, the new one with Ed Sheeran's tour logo on it. Draw will be made very soon. All you got to do is subscribe to the channel, a draw will be made, and then we'll go from there. And as always, you can listen to this podcast on all, wherever you find your podcast, whichever platform you normally find it from. Just go there, search F1 Fan Show Live, and your ears will thank you as you're out and about on the daily commute. ITC Tweedy, first race I've watched in a few weeks. Bottas surprised me. Shame Russell didn't get any points. That's right. Let's go to this week's race. So, for those that are a big fan of Steve's writing, he has another article on our website, thehndnetwork.com, and he starts off by saying Max Verstappen demolished the competition to take his 5th win of the season at the Austrian Grand Prix ahead of Mercedes, Valtteri Bottas in 2nd, and Lando Norris in 3rd. Demolished! Do you agree with that? Drop it in the comments, and let's welcome our aficionado in. Demolished, Stephen. Comfortable. You go on to write. You can read this article on our website. Link in the chat if you haven't read it yet. And if you haven't read Steve's work before, I do encourage you to, because it's a really good read. We put a lot out of them during the week, and we often look back at them. So, Steve, demolished. Yes? No?
Firstly, thank you for the kind words. I enjoy writing them. Thank you to anyone who does read them. Yes, I think he absolutely did demolish, because it was the first Grand Slam of his career. He did everything he needed to do. You know, pole position, led every lap, fastest lap, race win. What more do you want? Job done. 26 points in the bag.
Wow, yeah, 26 points in the bag. I know we've got a little bit on are they on the ropes so far? So we'll come on to that when we bring in our positivity part of the show, Mr. Neil Moles, of course. But in terms of a race, you know, Tweedy said it's his first race he's watched in a few weeks. Bottas surprised him. Russell didn't get any points. Were there any major surprises for you as the aficionado coming out of it that perhaps you didn't think coming into it you would have thought or felt?
I was surprised with Bottas as well, so I agree with Tweedy there. I thought he could maybe fight for maybe 3rd or 4th. I didn't see him coming through into 2nd. That was brilliant. I think, to be honest, that was the only sort of real surprise. There were some great battles up and down the field throughout the race. So I think, Bottas getting 2nd was the main. Well, apart from Hamilton actually finishing off the podium, that was a surprise as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
So.
Jordan Hockhold, a new F1 fan like myself, he's latched on to Neil's guy, Lando Norris. Unreal drive from Lando. Well, it's only James King coming in. I like how Mercedes are claiming that Red Bull have a party mode.
Yeah.
Steve?
Going back to Jordan's comment quickly, unreal again. He's finished in the top 5 in all but 1 or 2 races this year. He's been absolutely incredible. It's getting to the stage now where you expect this sort of performance from Lando, which is brilliant, and it's great to see McLaren right up there. James's comment, hi James. It's brilliant. Mercedes are now saying, Red Bull have got this extra mode that Mercedes have had for many, many years. So it's just that you're not as quick, Mercedes. No
Okay.
excuses. Come on.
Perfect. Right, let's bring in the Lando Norris fan and see how he felt Norris's drive went this weekend.
Wake up to the, wow. Wake up to the money, turn me right on. You look like you got dressed with no lights on. A Superman that spin like a cyclone. Fit check, spin like a cyclone. Wake up to the money, turn me right on.
Yeah, but we're crap. We're not going to dominate any team.
Mr. Neil Moles, full of positivity.
Is it
There's
a-
lots, I know. There's lots of love, Neil, for Lando. We've got Joel Jordan, as we said before, unreal drive from Lando. We've got Jacob Farrow. Welcome in, Jacob. Lando was insane. And then Jordan comes back in with such a harsh penalty for Lando with Perez. Not sure what else he could have done. So first of all, was his drive unreal from your perspective as a big Lando Norris fan? How would you critique it and rate it?
I really enjoyed it. I enjoy a race where my team's actually doing something decent, which I feel for poor Steve because,
Oh,
yeah, how he gets involved in a weekend, I will never know. But
That's
Peaks on a
fine.
Saturday.
I have my excitement on the Saturday and then watch it all unfurl on the Sunday. It's fine.
But yeah, like I say, it's brilliant having my team up there and having Lando do brilliant. And yeah, he done a stellar drive. It was just annoying that there was the safety car, and you then had the fact that Max done a little bit of messing around, and Perez got alongside Lando, and then it all unfolded. And,
Yeah, well, Steve wrote about it in obviously his article this week. It says penalties after penalties, and it started on lap 4 when Lando Norris was penalised for seemingly forcing Sergio Perez off the track. You say it was a harsh penalty, Steve, as does Jordan. Neil, for you, was it a harsh penalty? Was it a deserved penalty? What did you see? What did you didn't see? Come on, tell us all about it.
my initial reaction was, "Are you serious?" Because how many times do you see people on the outside and they just get pushed off? I know there was a clamp down, I'm not sure which season it was, where pretty much you ended up having to leave that car width, which doesn't seem to be enforced anymore. Well, apart from this one weekend where suddenly you're not allowed to again.
They brought it back for this weekend only.
There was one season they pretty much enforced you had to leave space, and that's pretty much what they wanted Lando to do this time. He couldn't take that line out wide. He needed to ease off and allow Perez past, basically. Just like Perez had to do.
Go on, Steve. Harsh penalty.
I was screaming, saying that Perez, that's a 5-second penalty. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I can imagine Neil Moles sat in his living room, slippers on, little Coco, Lando Norris dressing gown, screaming, "That's a 5-second penalty, Sergi."
it was. I mean, Sergio deserved that. I mean, that I was watching obviously with James, who has appeared in the comments, and we were saying, yeah, it's ridiculous because you watched it looked like there may have been contact, but when you actually saw like the T-cam footage and the external footage, there was nowhere near contact. And they always say rubbing's racing. And if you go to a Formula One race, you want to see drivers going wheel to wheel, and you want to see these bold moves around the outside from Perez. You want to see this great defending from Norris. You know, you don't want to see everyone going, "I don't want to overtake him because I'm scared in case I get a penalty." Well, I'm scared in case, I don't want to defend in case I get a penalty for defending too hard. So the only good thing that came from those penalties was the consistency that they actually penalised Perez for the same thing twice with Leclerc, because Perez's were worse than what Norris did. You know, Perez actually made contact with Leclerc.
Wheel to wheel, he actually banged him twice.
So
and that wasn't enough. He then had to run him off at a different corner as well, didn't he?
Yeah, it didn't go well. So the Norris penalty was pathetic. It was ridiculous,
especially how early on it was as well.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
lap
normally
4.
forgiving early on.
That's it. I mean, it's lap 4, but you've just had a safety car come in because of Ocon. So you've got 20 or 19 cars all bunched up. There's obviously going to be some wheel-to-wheel action. And like they say, they usually say like lap 1, if there's a crash, okay, racing incident, because you've got 20 cars in one corner. So, yeah, it was just stupid from the stewards, I think.
And Leclerc taking out Gasly last week and nothing happened.
Oh, exactly. That ended up with 4 cars because Gasly, obviously, from that damage, then ended up taking Giovinazzi and Latifi almost out of the race as well, and Leclerc got away with it and then got driver of the day. So crazy.
I imagine that the stewards this weekend were bored because after Kimi's and Vettel's little incident, they had
Yeah.
8 drivers had to go into the stewards.
Yeah.
So you don't think it's maybe the stewards looking at Lando now after a good year and seeing him as maybe a top driver and thinking you shouldn't be making those mistakes. And just maybe not consciously, but maybe subconsciously looking at him through the lens that you look through Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton, the top guys, because you expect them to be the best drivers. And if you're a best driver, you need to follow that rule so strictly. Do you think maybe a bit of that?
I almost saw it the other way. The fact that McLaren aren't quite there, and if you consider this is a Mercedes Red Bull fight and Lando's just getting in the way, it is messing it up for both parties. And the fact that he took, well, as such, took Perez out, and the stewards probably thought, oh, he shouldn't, he's messing it up, he shouldn't be there, and penalised him that way.
Yeah, it's almost, you think that if it was Bottas who had done that to Perez, they might have thought, yeah, all right then. But yeah, you shouldn't be up here in a McLaren. But that's what I love to see. I love to see these other teams getting involved and interrupting this Mercedes Red Bull rivalry. It's brilliant because teams like that have obviously not just, if you're Red Bull, you've obviously got to consider Mercedes in your strategies, but you've now also got to consider teams like McLaren with Lando. Okay, this guy could mess us up. And I love it.
What do you say to Jordan here? Obviously, quite new to F1, but for me, 99% was just wheel-to-wheel racing, and that's surely what we all want.
Absolutely. I don't want to come to a race and see, or watch a race and see cars just too afraid to pass each other, or too afraid to defend, or sitting miles apart. I want to see cars banging wheels. I want to see cars getting stuck in. I don't want to see these drivers, really pushing and really trying to maximize what they can do. I don't want to see them going, yeah, I didn't pass him because I was afraid. It's just not Formula One.
I know in IndyCar that it's a little bit more lenient with that sort of thing. They almost they don't fight too hard. They know another pass is there to be done, so they don't fight too hard. They end up letting people pass, which obviously just doesn't happen in Formula One. You've got them diving left, right, and centre in order to block people off and doing the last minute lunges, which normally gets the stewards a little bit annoyed.
George was actually called to the stewards after yesterday's race, wasn't he? Because they put him under investigation for moving under braking towards the end with Kimi Räikkönen, because when he came down to turn 4, that sort of tight right-hander, he moved to the right to defend, and then you saw him come across to the left. And I thought if they had penalised him, it would have been a bit stupid because Räikkönen was in no position to make an overtake anyway.
No.
But those are the things they do clamp down on, because you can't move under braking. Because how many times have we seen a crash where a driver's moved under braking and ended up taking someone else out?
Bruce there, fines were being thrown around like we were watching Destruction Derby. Officials needed to chill out. I'll tell you one thing that didn't chill out, and that was Red Bull. 5 wins on the bounce, and they're 6th overall this season. Neil, you asked a question this morning. I think it's a great question to lead this topic with. Are Mercedes on the ropes, or are they going to turn it around this year, or focus on next year? Neil, you asked the question this morning. Have you got any answers on that one? What are you thinking before we bring Steve in?
Well, if the F1 channel's anything to go by, Red Bull have brought some updates, and that's obviously helped them get ahead. How true that is, I don't know. Whether they've just found little ways to set up the car or whatever, because I don't think Mercedes really have anything much, or I don't believe they're pursuing this car too heavily now. So it's all set up how they can adjust the suspension and how much they want to utilise rake, in which apparently they tried this weekend. And are
Mercedes on the ropes? Are they on the ropes? Is it over already?
If I didn't see this coming, I saw a little ding dong. We had a couple of races where I saw Red Bull were the better team, and I thought Mercedes were just going to have it again, like earlier in the season, and that just hasn't happened, has it?
Steve?
And will it ever switch?
No, Totally agree. I think I said something about it in my article, that Red Bull expected to be able to challenge Mercedes this year, but everyone came into the season thinking that Mercedes was still going to be the team to beat, but Red Bull were going to be right up there with them and sort of making the most of any missed opportunities for Mercedes, taking a couple of sneaky victories here and there. No one, I would be honestly shocked if people at Red Bull even saw themselves winning 5 races on the bounce, which is absolutely insane. 6 races out of 9 this year, it's been a Red Bull victory. You know, they've not been this successful since their last championship in 2013. I think Bottas was quoted as saying they think they have one more upgrade, but he's not sure if there are going to be any more after that. So Mercedes, and I was listening to another podcast a few days ago, I think after the Austrian Grand Prix, and they had James Allison on, technical director at Mercedes, and he was saying that a lot of focus has shifted to 2022. Or some focus anyway has shifted to 2022, probably more than what Red Bull are doing. So Red Bull are very obviously clearly thinking about pushing this as far as they can go with 2021. But honestly, I did not expect this level of performance from Red Bull.
It's been impressive, really impressive. Obviously, Hamilton's just signed a new deal,
2 years,
2-year deal. Bottas then pulls out a race that nobody saw coming. Is there any correlation with that? Because with Hamilton being signed up, does that mean Bottas? You know, does that sort of confirm that Bottas is heading for the exit?
They're still adamant, no.
Okay.
Walker's still very, very chummy with Bottas, and he would see it harsh either way he done it, whoever he lets down.
But pulling races like Sunday out of the bag, Steve, will not be hurting him.
No, I mean, Sunday was the sort of race Bottas needed because Hamilton was struggling. He had that aerodynamic damage he picked up fairly early on, and he dropped back, behind Bottas, behind Norris, and he was never really there all weekend, really, because even in quali, he was out of the top 3. And Bottas was there. He was P2. He was there when the team needed him. I would still be surprised if he is there next year. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Hamilton has got a certain amount of say in who he has as a teammate. Because I know we've had, whether it's true or not, I don't know, people like Vettel in the past at Red Bull and Ferrari have sort of had an input as to who their teammate is, Alonso as well. If Hamilton's got the same sort of thing, I wouldn't be at all shocked. So
he won't want Russell then, will he?
He won't want Russell. He'll be happy with Valtteri Bottas. I mean, Hamilton and Bottas would win that because Bottas keeps that coveted seat at Mercedes. Hamilton has someone alongside him who's not going to really challenge him. Mercedes would win because they haven't got these 2 drivers fighting tooth and nail like they had with Hamilton and Rosberg. And poor old George will probably be stuck in another Williams for a year. And as much as I love the guy, I want to see him scoring regular points. And he's not going to do that in a Williams.
On another way of looking at it, if Russell did go to Mercedes, how much he struggled to fit in that car, they would have to adjust it. He was way too high, wasn't he? His helmet was interfering with the inlet for the engine.
His helmet almost poked through the top of the halo. It was brilliant.
He had to have shoes a smaller size just to fit his feet in. So there'd need to be changes with the car.
If he got, he managed to almost win that race in a Mercedes that wasn't built for him. Obviously, Lewis is quite a bit smaller than George. If he could if he could get in a Mercedes that was actually built around him, that would be amazing. I think he would do so well. But that comment from Bruce there as well. I think it's a mixture of both. Red Bull is at a completely different level to where they were last year. Honda have helped massively with that because they've made massive gains with the engine. And Max has obviously worked on himself, worked on his attitude, on his racecraft. I think it's a mixture of both because Perez is, sort of thereabouts, but Max is on another level. Incredible.
Yeah, Honda brought a lot of, it's basically a brand new engine design to this season. They brought it forward.
It's doing all right then, isn't it? It's doing well. Talk about Max on another level, really smashing it. Talk about Sergi for a minute, Neil. That was Perez. Because as Bruce says, he's there or thereabouts. Is he doing enough for you? Is there more to come from Sergi?
It was a difficult one this weekend because obviously I had my man Lando, and I wanted him to do well, and I was annoyed the fact that he got the penalty, and then obviously I wanted Perez to then get one after what he did, and but then on the other hand, with our fantasy we've got going on, I needed Perez to do well because I basically wished to screw myself over, really, didn't I? But he's doing okay. Prior to this weekend and last, he was okay, but yeah, prior to this weekend, I would say he's doing brilliantly. Couldn't wish for anything more. But this weekend, it almost showed that petulant. The red mist descended. He got done over with being pushed wide. He then had a car that was no good in a straight line, so he couldn't get past cars that were potentially slower over a lap. And yeah, he just ended up shunting Charles about. And yeah, it's that side you don't get to see of him very much. It's what we used to see quite a lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
brilliantly, Steve. Neil called it. So is he doing brilliantly for you, or is he doing as well as you thought he would? Where are you in the expectation for Sergi meeting the realization?
I'm quite happy with what Perez is doing. I think he's doing very well because he's there when Red Bull need him. I mean, they needed him in Azerbaijan. Obviously, Max Verstappen retired for that tyre failure later on. They needed Perez there to pick up the pieces, and he did. He may not have won it if Lewis Hamilton had gone straight on for turn one, but he was there to get the points when he needed. He's got a couple of podiums. He's doing a better job than what Gasly and Albon did in the second Red Bull, which has always been a bit of a sort of, it's almost like a poison chalice of a seat, really, because that team is quite obviously built around Max Verstappen as it was built around Vettel years ago. So it's always a tricky thing to step into that sort of environment. But Sergio has been in Formula 1 10 years. This was his 200th Grand Prix. He's been there, he's done it. And I think he's doing very, very well. He's more, I mean, apart from this weekend, which obviously, like Neil said, the red mist, and we saw a sort of early version of Perez, he's been doing everything the team needs.
Yeah. Okay. Look, we're 24 minutes into the show. Not far left to the end. Let's talk about George Russell, Steve. He's peaking on Saturdays and not delivering on the Sundays. What is causing this, Steve? How do we get over this?
Well, I'm going to debate that because he certainly delivered yesterday. He delivered on a Saturday by getting Williams their first top 10 shootout since Monza 2018.
Saturday is brilliant.
Which is incredible. I mean, he was in the top 10 last week. That was obviously because of Tsunoda's penalty. But this week he actually got into the top 10 on merit, on medium tyres as well, in Williams. And he was ahead of Stroll in the top 10. And bearing in mind his teammate Latifi starts way down in 18th. That he's on another level to Latifi. And he was doing everything right. The only thing that held him back, he had a slightly poor start and lost some places. If he'd have managed to get a better start, he might have had a better chance at getting 9th or 10th. But obviously when it came to it at the end of the race, he had this incredible battle with Fernando, and I'm watching there almost sort of through my fingers with this battle, and I'm praying that Fernando isn't going to pass him, but it's just delaying the inevitable. You know, a quicker Alpine, Fernando Alonso, double world champion. He's been in F1 almost 20 years, apart from a few years out. It was obvious what was coming, and 11th place on merit. That's the thing. You know, he was 11th in one of the slowest cars on the grid. So I think he can walk away with his head held high. He's going to be frustrated, obviously, to miss out by that much, but yeah, he didn't do a thing wrong this weekend.
Okay, Neil, thoughts? Go on, you got something to say there, Neil?
Yeah, basically, he was just saying after the race that normally you'd have some runners drop out, and none of the top lot dropped out. So if they had done, he would have got points. And Alonso was unlucky. It was on Saturday where with qualifying, he just couldn't get the lap in. He was held up, wasn't he, by Vettel?
With Vettel, yeah. That's the thing. There's a couple of factors.
He was out of place. No,
yeah, absolutely. No, Alonso shouldn't have been in that fight, absolutely, because he should have been much further up, because that Alpine was quick, unless you're Ocon. The Alpine was quick with Fernando all weekend. And they're doing a bit, like Bruce says, they're a bit below average. But Fernando's getting there. But yeah, that's the thing. In France and he could have had 3 points finishes in a row, because France, he finished 12th on merit, and no one obviously was above him. No one above him retired, so he could have had a couple of points there if someone above him had retired, maybe. Last weekend, he was looking good for points, and they had a mechanical issue. This weekend, P11, if one person ahead of him had a problem, I mean, it's sort of what could have been, really, but he could have got a couple of points. He also could have done back in Imola, but there we go.
There we go. As I look up our F1 fantasy for Jacob,
Got it open.
Talk to me about Kimi and Seb's crashes, please.
That was an exciting end to the race.
Kimi got points for it, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I believed it was purely on him, and I couldn't see what on earth was going on with it all until what's the name on F1 ended up showing a replay of a bit of more of an overhead sort of angle, and they were showing that the car in front was doing the racing line, and neither of them were really on it. Kimi was to the left of it, and Vettel was to the right, and they both basically slowly came in towards each other, towards that racing line. And
it was George ahead on the racing line as well.
And it is just, Kim, you can see on that shot, Kimi's got the view of that car right there. And they both just came into each other to try and get that racing line. And Vettel obviously just didn't have that extra pace to move it forward. And so there was no contact. It was just silly, really. But
From someone like Kimi, it was a silly move.
They both said on the interview that they weren't ever getting points, so it doesn't really do any harm, but it's just one of those silly things. But that's another thing for me. The Kimi we used to know, that wouldn't have happened. It's just more of his deterioration.
It's slowly breaking my heart, because I love Kimi. I've always loved Kimi.
Don't go breaking my heart.
He is breaking my heart. I mean, I've got George in it to take over, which is fine. George is always in my heart. But Kimi, I've always loved, and I just love his approach to it. He just wants to get in the car, drive, go home. He doesn't give a crap about the media side of it or this sort of any other PR side of it. He's, I don't want to do interviews. You can see he doesn't really want to be there. And I loved it. He's just a pure racer. And his younger years and his Ferrari, the first stint of Ferrari as World Championship, that wouldn't have happened. He was the best driver on the grid. And it's painful to see he's struggling so much on Saturdays now, which Fred Vasseur at Alfa Romeo has come out and said, look, we need to find out what is going wrong with Kimi on Saturdays. And he just doesn't seem to have what he used to have, which is such a shame.
There was... They were guessing their ratings on the F1 game, and Kimi, he does big up Giovinazzi quite a lot. He does rate him, and there is quite a gap growing between them now, in which it wasn't there originally. Is that Giovinazzi improving, or is that Kimi getting worse, or a mixture of the two?
Good question.
I think it's a mixture of the two, because Giovinazzi, there's a good driver in there. He just needs to sort of hone it a little bit, But he's a good driver, and he's taken the fight to Raikkonen. And people thought Raikkonen would absolutely wipe the floor with him because of who he is. He's a world champion. He's got all these race wins, and he's been in F1 20 years. And that's not happening at all. I can see it being Raikkonen's last season, because I know he's only contracted for last year and this season. Whether he wants to try the 2022 cars, I don't know. He seems happy, but someone like Mick Schumacher, I think, could do well with that seat at Alpha.
Okay, all right. Jacob Farrow is joining the F1. Sorry, go on, Neil.
Yeah, I'd be sad to see him go, but it's one of those where he is just hanging it out a little bit. He just
when you want the new up.
Yeah, you want the new blood coming through, and
for
me, it's almost a little bit with Rossi. Someone was saying the other day he's still going in MotoGP, but he's at the back or near the back, shall we say? and you know,
That's it. I mean, you've got
time for you putting your boots up. 'Cause you
yeah, you've got Rossi in MotoGP. You've got Jason Plato in touring cars. He's in his 50s now. You've got people like Kimi Raikkonen, Fernando Alonso in Formula One. They're 40, or around that sort of age. And there's the F1 teams have got these young driver academies, so people like Mick Schumacher who want to push on, and they don't want to be stuck in a house. They want to be showing what they can really do. Because all Schumacher can do is beat Mazepin week in, week out, which is fine. But they want to do more. And people like Guan Yu Zhou in the Renault Driver Academy, incredible driver. People like that deserve a seat in Formula One. But as much as I love Fernando, the older guys are taking these seats, that the young kids, that we need this new blood coming through.
On the F1 channel, they almost questioned Alpine's decision on that because they had a tyre test to do, didn't they, in practice? They got given a blank marked set of tyres, and they were saying that you needed a consistent driver in that team to be able to give you the data you needed. But instead they gave it to a young driver that is an unknown.
Yeah,
which, on one hand it's brilliant because they're giving him a chance to be in the seat, but on the other hand, if they want to improve, he's it just doesn't help them with correlating data.
No, that sort of thing Fernando would have been great for, because he knows his tyres, he knows what he's doing. He's the ideal person.
Okay, right. F1 Fantasy, as we close, Jacob's going to be joining us, hopefully, in the league. But in the league, Neil, you're currently sat in 16th place. Shuts up that league bar. Breaking, you're threatening a top 10 here. You're doing a George Russell. You're threatening a top 10.
I haven't even looked at it. It's one of those things where at the early part you set it up and just leave it to do its thing.
Well, there you go. Steve, 18th.
Oh, I've dropped a place.
Yeah, you've dropped. Neil's going in that direction. Neil's the George Russell, and you're the Latifi of the situation right here. You're going the wrong direction.
It's not that bad.
It was Perez that let me down.
No, I'm more Latifi. I'm currently sat all the way back in 27th out of 33. The rookie, as you would expect. I'm not the Yuki Tsunoda. I started brightly, and now I'm just
fading.
Just fading. But
to be fair, I'm being held back by Ricciardo and Tsunoda.
Well, yeah, so am I. I've got two of those as well. So yes, I am. My other drivers, Bottas, Leclerc, and Norris, they're not too bad, particularly Norris. But Ricciardo,
I'd probably do better if I could swap Tsunoda with Russell or someone.
Do it. I've got him in my team, and I can't get rid of him. I don't care how bad he does. I'm not getting rid of him. I don't think I can sub anymore. Is there a number of subs, or can you?
Three, is it?
Yeah, you get a few. I've got Vettel, and I put him back in just before Azerbaijan, and he really got me some good luck there because he then went and finished on the podium. But since then, he's sort of faded again. So I might have to get rid of my Seb. But I've also got Perez as my turbo driver. Norris is doing really well. I might have to make him my turbo driver.
I should have made Norris my turbo driver by now, but I've got it as Perez. And I've never used that other thing that gives you a boost.
Well, the Mega Driver. I used that for Charles Leclerc in the first race, and I'm so glad I did.
Well,
right. I just haven't used it.
Me neither, but I will hopefully look to use it next time. No race next Monday, but it's the build up to Silverstone, which is obviously a big one. Steve, I think, is going. He's not mentioned it.
I am. It's the first Grand Prix I've ever been to. Me, my other half, James, we're all going to Silverstone.
Good man. Well, we'll break it down next week. Yeah. We'll break it down next week for you. Back at 7:15. Steve, do you want to lead us out so Neil can look like he can get into a hotel room?
Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and great to see we've got new people commenting as well and getting involved. Get involved with the F1 Fantasy as well. Love to see all you people joining and obviously getting involved in the chat and having your say. Thank you to those that have read any ramblings I do write, and which we'll see you next week at Monday. I'm going to be bleary-eyed and tired because I will obviously come back from Silverstone, hopefully after a George Russell top 10 and a Norris podium in Silverstone. That'll be epic. So absolutely. So it will. Have the faith, man.
Okay.
So, which we'll see you there 7:15 next Monday. No.